Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. And I've got a great guest for us today. Her name is Nicole Matthews. And I have known Nicole for it seems like hundreds of years. Hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think you are going to get a big kick out of everything she has to say. She's written this amazing book called Permission. Is your title still with the Henley Company or no?
It is. Yeah, it is.
It is. And so she's got an event planning company called the Henley Company. And we're going to talk about all those twists and turns. The other thing I think it's going to be fun is I would love to jump in and chat for a second about how a while ago you were going to call it recess, or you kind of, and I want to see how because I think that's the greatest name ever is recess. But then getting corporations to write the check for, the giant check for recess is a whole other story, but that's a business topic. So yeah, we'll jump in. All right. So welcome, Nicole, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Anytime I get to spend with you is just an honor and a privilege. So thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And so I don't even remember how we did meet. Did we meet in an industry convention?
Yeah, I think we did. If I recall, I probably attended one of your sessions and I was sitting in there watching lovingly you as a train wreck at the top of the front of the room. And I was like, she's my people for sure. Like I can totally relate to this. Plus she's brilliant at what she's doing and she's teaching us all about how to make money, which, let's celebrate that. So I think that's our first entree. And then if you remember, I came to you with the idea about self-producing events. Right. And that's when we got into the whole Sex in the City chapter.
Right. Which my gosh, talk about, okay. So I mean, obviously I've thought about that since, but I forgot that really segued into that. Yeah. And then we went on to do a ton of talks and stuff together. So the talk that Nicole is mentioning is around my first book, But Are You Making Any Money? And you guys who have listened to the podcast for a while know the story, I think, where for our industry convention at the time, if you did a presentation of any kind, assuming they accepted it, then you would get a free pass to the industry convention. And I was like, great. I mean, and so I would pitch all kinds of stuff. And by that point, I had just come up with my little rinky-dink system to price since, it was, I think, the second or third time I was about to go bankrupt. And I taught, and the class was all about, pricing for profit, right? Because we all would have those problems. And I would always find in the beginning, especially, that I would ask people how they'd price and nobody wanted to talk about it. And I was like, is that just kind of like bad etiquette or what's the deal? I come to find, a lot of them just didn't really have a system to price that in any way, a unique system. They copied other people, and that's what you do in entrepreneurship, right? You figure it out. So after that class, the first one, that's when people were like, just kept asking questions. I was like, did you not hear the first part of this, which was the train wreck part where I was like, hey, and I almost, went bankrupt out of the restaurant business and I almost did this and I almost did that. And they're like, and then you've heard this story, but somebody said, yeah, but you're the only one answering any of the questions. And I remember thinking that was so like moving to me. I mean, it was a big catalyst for me because I thought, wait a second. No one is answering questions about how to price or really like confront the tough stuff about being in business because it's embarrassing because most of the time you're doing it wrong. I mean, this is a classic case of most of the time the plane is off course, right?
Yep, 100%.
And so I was like, so wait a second. So they're willing to just get potentially bad business advice. And I wasn't giving them bad business advice, but they didn't know that at the time. So they're potentially going to get bad business advice and take that because at least they have a sounding board. And I guess maybe then they could meet other people in the same boat, which is then what happened. And I've got to say, I think some things in our industry have changed. I'm curious as to what you're more like one of the people like you enjoy a lot of times, I think, being out there, whereas I go, oh my gosh, my brain hurts. I need to take a break. Right. But how much would you say the industry has changed? Like how much do we talk about pricing? And I think it's better, right?
I do think it's better, but I think we talk about it more because there's a opportunity to make revenue from that.
Right. Great point. So go on about that.
Yeah. So of course, everybody then gets, their system, their class, their webinar, their for $97, I can teach you all the things, right? So I do think that we have access to more information, right? Where we
Mm-hmm.
can find the answers to those questions about how do I price. But
Right.
I think that there became this like, okay, we're going to talk about pricing. Well, I'm going to monetize that conversation.
Aha. Okay.
And so I think you will still find people who are sort of willing to share. And I mean,
Yeah.
I teach a lot of classes. I talk about pricing. To me,
Right.
I just think the more we can talk about it, it's just better for the entire industry,
Yeah.
because then we're not like, how is this person charging $25 an hour and this person's charging $250 an hour? And like, how did we get there? Kind of thing.
Yes.
So I do think that, and obviously there's just access to more information as well. So
Right.
I think you were really like first person in our industry who was saying, hey, we got to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that was a real pivotal time in our industry. But yet now it's like, oh, if you want secrets, you're going to have to pay for my secrets.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You're giving me a lot of business ideas. I mean, it will always. I mean, you read a lot, I read a lot. I was just listening to something on Audible about business and communities and stuff like that. And I really do think though that the most successful people are the ones who are just giving away a lot for free. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
can't monetize it, right?
Yeah.
But there is so much that I give away for free that I would, and not that, oh, I'm the most successful person at it, but I do think, I've been at it for a really, really, really long time, and you still quote aren't like there,
Right.
and
Right.
it just, I think the long-term approach is, I think some people they're going to crash and burn with that. If you're just kind of charging for everything, like, oh, I'll give you just this little piece, but then the rest of it, you've got to pay me for. And I mean, one of the simplest free things that I say practically in every podcast and everything is freaking just track your time for a week, right? Just track your time for a week. I'll show you all the issues in your business, because it's so obvious, and people are like, oh, I'm not making enough money, or I don't have enough, or my clients, or I can't charge what I'm worth, or I can't this or that. And then you're like, well, yeah, because you're spending all your time on proposals for people who can't afford you, right? Or you're spending all your time on people who are tire kickers and just can't pay.
Yeah.
And that should be sussed out in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's interesting. Now, and you came up with these Sex and the City events, which to me was genius. It was genius at the time. I still think it's genius. And I think it's something that our listeners can really piggyback on and use it for their own business, no matter what their own business is, or even a charity or anything they're trying to raise money for. So tell us, how did that whole thing start? And then how did it kind of morph?
Yeah. So this is back in 2008 when Sex and the City first came out. So the very first movie that came out. And if anyone was in business in 2008, I was freshly in business. I was only in about like a year and a half into business, right?
Yeah.
So what a great time to start a business in 2007. Yep. But, things were really starting to kind of get a little snug in terms of the economy and everything.
Very
right?
gracious. Yeah.
And so I was having coffee actually with a friend of mine one day, and we were just sort of brainstorming about business, and we were talking about Sex and the City, and she sort of made a comment to me. She's like, you should throw a big event around Sex and the City. And I, at first I thought, well, like, who would pay me to do that? Because our mindset is always like the client has to pay us, right? We're always chasing a client so the client can pay us. And it suddenly like dawned on me, and I was like, why can't I be my own client? Right? Like, so why I have all of the tools that I need to produce this event. I don't need a client who's going to give me a directive on how to do this. And so I saw that there was an opportunity to do it all mainly through strategic partnership. And I would say probably business has changed since, that sort of sweet spot that I was working in that time, where people were a little more open to sort of strategic partnerships to the level I was doing them. But my first call was to my colleagues at a PR agency. And I just said, hey, here's an idea. Sex and the City is going to be this massive thing. It was, if anyone remembers, and it was really a cultural moment when that first film came out. So went to them and I said, I know you rep a lot of restaurants and nightclubs, like who would be the right person for me to talk to? Well, they obviously wanted one of their clients to get this press and
Sure.
PR. And so we found a nightclub in San Diego that was already going to be open on the Friday night of when this event was happening, right? The bar and nightclub is already open. Staff is in the building. The lights are on. So they still have expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me to say, I'm going to bring 300 people to your nightclub on a Friday night, which ironically in nightclub land is one of their slower nights, come to find out.
Oh, I
So
didn't
they
even
were
know.
thrilled. Yeah, they were thrilled. We created this whole partnership thing where, we would have part of the nightclub private. And then they knew also what would happen is that people who attended, say it was mostly women, probably the husbands were downtown doing something else. And now everybody meets up. And now that's just revenue at the bar because everybody's drinking at the bar. Right.
Right.
So through a lot of different strategic partnerships, I was able to produce this event, and the ticket sales, because I was the client, all came back to me. I was able to, through strategic partnership, handle every expense in that project other than the movie tickets, because those I couldn't barter away. So that was like a massive success. And so then 2 years later, I think it is, that Sex and the City 2 comes out, and I've now gotten some good press around what I did. It was a huge success. We had like every major news station. It was incredible. And that's when you and I, came together, and I said, I have this formula. Let me see if I can replicate this. And I wrote sort of a loose handbook, and actually other planners in, I think it was 5 other markets across the US produced that their version of my Sex and the City event for the second movie. You and I did it together in LA. And I remember when we first found the venue, and they came back to us with the first proposal, and you were like, that sounds good. And I was like, oh no, we're not paying for this. We're not paying for this. So we went back and forth, and ultimately we didn't pay for that. So between San Diego and LA for Sex and the City 2, we did over 800 tickets for that event. And I know other markets had, similar success. So it was really great. So that spun into then when Oprah did her last show, we did a very similar sort of experience. When Obama was inaugurated, we did a similar sort of thing. Looking at kind of these cultural moments where we knew people wanted to have a shared experience.
That's key.
So, you could have watched Oprah's last show on your couch by yourself, but you needed to be with your girlfriends. You wanted to celebrate that and have that experience together. And so I was really able to tap into that. And for years, that was really kind of a large revenue piece of my business, was just my own events that I was doing. And I always just encourage event planners, like, stop always chasing the client. Like, you already have the skill set to produce these events. And if you just position it correctly, and obviously you don't want to put yourself into debt to do them, but there is a lot of revenue that can come out of these self-produced events.
Well, and you were you were very much ahead of your time. I mean, as far as all that goes, and almost it was kind of the beginning of like influencer stuff, right? I mean, you had kind of like, you'd wield your influence, you'd get somebody to say, yeah, I'll jump in with their piece.
Yeah.
And then those pieces came together to be then the full produced event. And now I really think Sarah Jessica Parker owes us a thank you note.
I do too.
She's listening, because we sold a lot of tickets. You sold a lot of tickets, but over the years. Why do you think that those events worked so? I mean, because people had a ball. I mean, I had a ball. We were working, but I mean, I still had a ball, and I still think it's a terrific idea. Maybe we should bring those back. But do you think it was just the shared experience, or was it because it was unique? It was why do you think it worked?
I think it's all of that. I think definitely the shared experience. I think also, how it is in a girlfriend group. Like, everybody goes, what we should do is go to the Sex and the City premiere. Well, one woman in that group is going to be saddled with the where are we going to dinner, and and where are we parking, and all that kind of stuff. And so thought was I need to take all of that off of the person in the group, right? The organized one who's going to do that. If you say, all you have to do is buy this ticket, I'll handle the rest of that for you. Right. So it also eliminated the burden of, oh God, that'd be really fun to go have our girlfriend night, but I don't want to be the one who has to organize it. So we took that piece out, right? We gave people back time. We gave people something super easy for a flat rate. You're going to get this experience. And then on top of that, obviously it's just this shared experience, not only with your own intimate circle, but but the larger society was all having, that moment when the movie came out. right?
Yeah.
And so you just wanted to be a part of it, and I think now, unfortunately, post-COVID, like people are still a little like hesitant to kind
Yeah.
of get out and do the thing, but I think if we can come up with a thing that is easy for people, that's what people
Yeah.
want. Nobody wants to have to work hard at having fun. And so if we can
Right.
figure out a way to encapsulate it into one ticket or whatever that might look like, then that
Right.
is a little bit easier, I think, for people at this point.
Well, I think it should be for the Golden Bachelor. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but I really do, because here's why. Because that's a group, that's an audience of women who are, I mean, not have to be like 65 or whatever they are that are on that show. But I mean, and you and I are a lot younger than that, but still, like the idea, first of all, I think it was just a crazy great show to watch, number one,
Yeah.
right? Number two, that demographic of women watching that show, I mean, I haven't analyzed it too much, but I would imagine is probably a pretty good demographic for brands, because, the kids are grown, they've got the disposable income,
right,
et cetera. Right. And so, and it really is that kind of thing. It's like, when you would go to the Bachelor finale, the reveal, all those kind of things before, and people get very hyped up, and it's like, did you say it's like it's a fun night out. So
yeah,
I wonder, because these days there isn't so much like, I mean, there isn't so much a movie that you go and see, because as I say, it is different from, and with social media and all that stuff, there's so much noise that is surrounding everything. So it's like, it's just hard to get people's attention. But
it is.
I do think there's as somebody has said, riches in the niches. And I think that how it has to be like, we would do the stuff. I mean, our good friend Cecilia Rose, which we should reach out to, she would do this thing based on Oprah's favorite thing. So when the Oprah Winfrey show, Cecilia would get these different people together, and so she would be like a luncheon or something, and she would. Cecilia is an event planner in Ohio, and she would get, have, okay, you're going to have X number of friends or colleagues, or, somebody can bring somebody. And then it would be like, oh, here's my favorite lipstick or whatever. And one person would bring it. Say, here's my favorite hand cream. Here's my favorite, whatever. So that everybody would basically leave with these like huge goodie bags. And I think that model kind of the Oprah's favorite things could be morphed into something like your old Sex and the City stuff.
For sure.
Because these days, I mean, the brand might not give the full size of XYZ, but they certainly would like probably give great samples that if one person spent time and, put it all together, it'd be like like a gifting suite.
Sure.
And I think it could be really cool, because ironically, I think what we need more than ever are these shared experiences.
For sure.
After
For
COVID.
sure.
I mean, you look at the mental health, percentages of like younger people just who are depressed and all this stuff. And I think that's exactly what we need. So we're going to get up the podcast and create something for the Golden Bachelor. Some kind. I just think that the Jerry guy, from the last one, that whole thing, Jerry and Teresa, I talked about that so much. And my guy friends were always like, he's gay. He's obviously gay. I was like, I never got the gay vibe, but I don't know. So that would be a fun Golden Bachelor.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm probably of the age where I could be a contestant now.
Right, I know. If I don't have Botox, they'd be signing me up right away. So tell us what you're doing now, because it's very exciting, and it's really cool. And ironically, our worlds have intersected again as far as that goes. Again.
Yeah, definitely. So I own the Henley Company since 2011. Event production was always what the company was going to be about, but we also I had this interest in kind of these other things: travel, personal assistance, kind of in-home entertaining. So really, if I was to define the Henley Company, we do events, travel, and lifestyle management, which makes us a little bit different than most event management companies. And that's been great just for my own, much like you, this is why we get along. We get bored very easily if we're always doing the same thing. So we need a little diversity all the time. So I've been very, very fortunate. Just celebrated 18 years over the summer, which is like bonkers to me that I've had the business for 18 years. Yeah, right. I have always had a real love and interest for sports. And I was very fortunate in 2012 to have an opportunity to work London 2012, the Summer Olympics in London. And that really sort of catapulted a whole new division of my company, which was around global sports. And those projects are wild and wonderful. And they're not for the weak, I'll tell you, because you're on site for like 6 weeks at a time. It's like going to summer camp. I mean, at the end of it, you're just brokenhearted that your little team is, having to go back to their corners of the world. So been very fortunate to do multiple Olympics. I was in Qatar for World Cup, did a big program for Coca-Cola. That's been a huge piece of my business. And really, I would say it still amazes me when I get those projects and I just they're my little worm, my heart. I'm so thrilled to always work at that level. Well, having that experience back in 2020, actually. So right as COVID, like the world is literally shutting down for COVID. And I get an opportunity to work with a federation here in San Diego called the California Police Athletic Federation, which is the governing body for two events. One, the United States Police and Fire Championships, and the other is the World Police and Fire Games. And these are basically Olympics competitions for our first responder community. So every June here in San Diego, we welcome 2,700 plus athletes from the United States. They come, they compete basically in our version of the Olympics, 35 different sports. They win medals. It's all about physical fitness, wellness, mental health.
And they're from all over the country?
All over the country, all over the country. So any US based first responder is eligible to compete in our US games. And then every other year we produce the World Police and Fire Games, which is for our global first responder community. And very similar, but that one is 67 sports. We get 72 countries that come. We were just in Birmingham, Alabama for the summer, and then we're off to Perth, Australia for 2027. So I now am finding myself in global sports, which is a big love of mine. Here we go
again.
Yes, here we go. But now I get to add in not necessarily Olympic athletes, but I get to add in responders. And that's a whole wonderful community of people to work in, obviously, because, every day what they're faced with. And so we provide the outlet for them to have a goal to train towards for the year, right? Because then they're going to compete every summer. And what's so great is that they don't have to qualify. So literally, if you are just like, hey, I've always wanted to try pickleball, come on out, you can try pickleball. Or you might have said, I've been running as a track athlete since the day I graduated from high school and I'm not ready to give it up and I'm an elite athlete and you're welcome as well. So it's super fun to just see these athletes on a varying level of skill, but also at the end of the day, we're providing community. There's that word again. We're providing camaraderie, and obviously the health and wellness, mental health component is so huge for what we're doing. So it's a great project.
So is it like a marathon? Like if anybody who wants to join, just
Yeah. Okay. All you have to do is register. That's it. There's no barrier for entry for us other than eligibility. But basically, if you work for a public agency, you're in law enforcement, fire, EMS, communications, then you're eligible. So it's all hey, I've always wanted to do this. I've wanted to run a 5K or a half marathon. Great. Come on. We've got that for you too. Right. And so it's all the Olympic sports you can think of. So traditional Olympic sports, we have industry specific, meaning things like police action pistol or ultimate firefighter or different events like that are specific for,
that'd be a good place to find a husband, right? I mean, seriously, I mean, what percentage of them are dudes versus chicks?
Oh, I think it's like 80-20. I'm not kidding. That's what it is sort of industry wide. And we model industry wide. It's something like 20 or 25% are women and the rest, it's nowhere near 50-50. Like it's not even close. It's like 80-20.
If I'm understanding it correctly, that is how like the makeup of the fire and police and first responders is anyway. It's 80% men, 20% women.
Correct.
Well, that's kind of amazing.
I mean, it's not, I mean, those numbers might not be 100%
no,
accurate, but it's a good, I mean, it's that kind of spread, right? It's that kind of spread. So, so there's always, we love having, more women who want to compete. We've got lots of divisions specifically for women. It's wonderful. And so companies that obviously want to support first responders, those are always want to talk to. If anyone listening has first responders in their life, like just let them know that the United States Police and Fire Championships, it's June 13th through the 20th in 2026 in San Diego. And, everyone is welcome. There really is you don't have to ever worry about I'm not very good. Doesn't matter. Just come from the camaraderie. I mean, we've literally had an iteration of this since 1967. So the
Wow.
organization has been
Awesome.
around for a very long time.
And then, okay, so do they have like, is it like the Olympic, like do certain sports or how does the scheduling work?
Yeah. So over the course of the 7 or 8 days that we're actually running competition, I mean, it'll be 5 days of soccer, outdoor
Hmm.
soccer, but then basketball's going on at the same time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
cornhole, and so yep. So there's a whole schedule of events. Some of the events are only one day, depending on what sport it is, and then others,
Yeah.
like our soccer tournament, run like 5 days of the week as well. So. And then we do some social events as well. We do something called the Chiefs Challenge. So we invite all of the police and fire chiefs from around the country to come, and they do a cornhole tournament to kind of
Oh,
kick off. Yeah, which is super fun. But it's just down to a marketing, it's just constantly trying to market and find, market and
yeah.
find. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do the teams come together? So if it's like soccer, do they practice as a team ahead of time, or are they
Sometimes they
regional?
do. Yeah, sometimes they do. So the agencies will put teams together. So for
Oh, got it.
instance, with me being in San Diego, San Diego Police Department, we put a team together, right? And now they might practice or they might not. Doesn't matter to us. You don't need
They might
to.
just
Some
show
even,
up.
yeah, some of them will actually even run some tryouts. They don't need to do that for us, but some of them will do that because they
Wow.
want to make sure that they win the gold medal. But again, each agency is really up. They whoever they want to put in, and some of our agencies are very supportive and will actually give the officers some dedicated time off so that they can come
Wow.
compete, because again, they're celebrating the fact that the health and wellness piece, right? Because it
Yeah.
just makes them better at their job, for the rest
Totally.
of the year. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun project to work on. I've been really lucky to have that for the last 5 years and been able to travel the world with them as well with our World Police and Fire games. And so that's a big piece of my life now, is still working in sports. Obviously, I still have, other clients for the Henley Company,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
but I spend a lot of time thinking about first responders in sports now.
After you and I saw each other, then you
Hmm.
sent me an email about it, and I forwarded it to with the fire project that I'm working on, and I
Yeah.
forwarded it to Bradley, the fireman. He was like, "That's a very competitive, well-known thing." Like he was just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
gun ho!"
Yeah.
Like everybody knows about those games, and I was like, "Wow,
Right.
where have I been?" So you get to go to then do it for them in Perth in
Right.
2027, or
So
are you going down there?
Perth is our next host city. Since I've been with them, we've been in Rotterdam, we've been in
Wow.
Winnipeg, we were just in Birmingham, Alabama, and then Australia, and then we are off to India in 2029.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
So it's every
Yeah.
2 years.
Every few years for the World Police and Fire Games, and that's for our global audience. But then our
Yes.
US audience every single year, always in June here in San Diego.
That is terrific. And why do you think they do it? Do you think they do it for the camaraderie? Do you think they do it for the competition? Do they do it to keep themselves in shape? Like, what do you think?
It's all those things, but I think first and foremost is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's the particularly policing. It's just a hard job, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're fighting in the streets, and they're fighting like opinion, and there's
Yeah.
just like there's a lot of stress that goes into that every single day, what they have to deal with. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that our fire side doesn't as
No.
well, but
No, I get it.
so continually what we hear when we'll ask somebody for, can you give us a quote that we can use in our marketing materials? Camaraderie, community, being with like-minded people, feeling like you're in a safe space
Yeah.
where, you could be proud to be police and fire. I
Yeah.
think all of that plays into it. I think the fitness piece is important, but at the end of the day, it's the camaraderie piece. Yes, they love to win medals, and people win lots of medals and have over
Yeah.
the years. But even if you never win a medal, you still love the fact that, especially if you get to travel, if you're not from San Diego, you're traveling in, it's a
Yeah.
whole, experience with your agency. And it really can create a lot of teamwork. The Chiefs have given us really positive about the teamwork and the importance of
All right.
that, and what a difference that's made, even when they're not competing. So there's just so many positivities that come from it.
Are the same people winning every year or every 2 years, or is
Yeah.
that well, they're probably the
So
most dedicated, right? The,
yeah,
the other ones are
yeah,
there for fun, and they're probably like ready to just,
yeah.
we're here to win.
Yeah, there's definitely that. So I mean, it is competitive, don't get me wrong, but that shouldn't also intimidate people who feel like they might not be at that
Right.
level. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, there is something for everybody, but
Yeah.
they do love to win their medals. Let me tell you, that's bragging rights, and they even want us to let the agency and the chief know. Like, can you send, I just yesterday, in fact, somebody said, can you send a letter to my chief telling him that I won all these medals, just because I want him to know that, like, I'm taking it serious, and that when I'm taking time off, this is what I'm doing. And so it was fun to see that he was still wanted that endorsement from his chief of like, good job. You did a good job. So
doesn't matter if you're 5 years old and you want mama to know you got the silver star, but
exactly.
Where's the future of events? Where are we headed?
I feel like there's a huge opportunity for us to get small. I think that goes back to having the right people in the room and our conversation around community. We keep using that word in this conversation, but I just feel like that's what people are looking for. They don't want to be lost in a sea of 5,000 people at an event, right? I'm working on something right now with, we're producing something with a secret business trip. You would love this, Marley. So we did this in 2019. My colleagues, Liz Lathan and Nicole Ashabudo out of Austin, they run a company that they did the world's first secret business trip. So everybody met at JFK in November of 2019. There were 80 event marketers, event people who bought into this concept of, when you arrive at this reveal party, you have no idea where in the world you're going to and where you're going on this airplane.
Awesome.
So everybody knew they had to meet at the TWA Hotel. If you've been there, that's super cool at JFK, right? We met there. We did the reveal party. We unfurled this banner that said we were off to Tuscany. They got on we chartered a plane. They were on a flight to Tuscany within 3 hours. They arrived in Tuscany. We stayed at this agriturismo, like really cool farm.
Oh, I would love that.
You would absolutely love that. And for 5 days, it basically was a business mastermind in a way where it feel contrived. There was no agenda before we went. People create, it's the concept of, kind of an unconference, right? Where you're creating on the go. Yeah. And I will tell you that the impact of that 80 people all having a very unique shared experience, it's something like there's been over $25 million in business that's happened between those 80 people since that happened. So fast forward, in 2026, they're doing the next iteration. And of course, I can't tell you where that is going, but can
you tell me when it's going to be?
It's going to be in May. So the very first part, I think it's the May 1st through the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty cool. I would tell you that it's one of those like probably bucket list places for most people.
Yeah.
And so same situation. People are buying in right now and we're having great response to it. It's limited to 50 people this time. Again, this time you're going to come to the West Coast, and then we're going to do the reveal and then off go to some part of the world honestly, like, I'm part of the planning team and I'm like, this is amazing. What are we doing?
I want in. How much does it cost?
$10,000. You are
for
in.
everything?
For everything. Marley, you would love it. Like, this is great. And I mean, we're talking like everybody in this room is event marketers, event producers, strategy people. Like they do a great job in making sure that it's not just like somebody who is just kind of tagging along and won't contribute to the conversation.
Yeah.
That's really important. A shared experience like that. I think, to your question about where is the event industry headed, I think there needs to be more of that stuff, because when people have a unique shared experience, they're more likely to create a relationship. They're more likely to, how many wild and crazy things have you and I done together? That's why, right? Yeah, those shared experiences are what, both trauma bonded us and like love bonded us forever.
Oh, yes. Now, okay. Right? So, I'm like really weird about hotels. Like I can't have like, I'm just going to try to make up a hotel name, like a Super 8 something. I don't know. I just like lose my mind. So are like the hotels, like,
you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You might have struggled a little more on the farm, but we're definitely.
Oh, actually, I wouldn't at all. I'd be sleeping I'd be fine sleeping with the cows, because you'd be sleeping with the cows, right? It wouldn't be like we are trying to pretend you're in Versailles. That's where I get in trouble, is when people I'm like, oh no, this is not that. No, let's not even.
Yeah.
Got it.
So yes, all of the hotels, all of the hotels are super cool. big thing for Nicole and Liz, who are the owners of this concept, is
Yeah.
that we don't go to like big brand hotels.
Oh,
So we
great.
don't
Then I
go to
really,
places. We don't go to places that are just like, we're just going to throw everybody into a ballroom and you all have to like,
oh, hell no. Yeah.
like bond.
Yeah.
We're bonding around, our feet are in a sand pit. We're bonding by having
Yeah.
some unique, crazy experience together. I mean, in Italy, there was truffle hunting. They wanted you to bring a ball gown,
Yeah.
and then you got to take a picture in this big muddy field in your
Oh,
ball
awesome.
gown that, you were going to toss away, but just these beautiful, like uninhibited photos that
Yeah.
were, just, that's the kind of stuff that they want people to do. And that's what people remember. And that's why people do business together, because
Oh,
you've
yeah.
had that shared experience. So
Yeah.
I would say that's the piece that I think that's what's happening. And especially post COVID, where people again want to be kind of in a, you don't want to have to meet 5,000 new people. You just want to
Right.
kind of keep tidy. I'm going to send you that information because you
100%. I'm
best
going to write
be.
it down. May
Yeah.
1st to 8th.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to
Yep.
be busy because I'm at the fire convention you
Yeah,
told me
you are
earlier
in
in
April.
April
Yeah, you're going to be
20th.
very, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I better figure out
Yep.
when my daughter graduates from high school.
Well, I mean, she can
Oh,
wait.
she has before, poor thing. So that's yeah, that's a terrific idea. How did you meet those two? Well, Austin, we know we have
Yeah.
amazing friends in Austin, and
Yeah.
how did you come up with these two, or how did they find you?
Yeah. So Nicole used to live in San Diego, and I got this LinkedIn message from her that was basically, first of all, she's just wild and wonderful. There's
Yeah.
nothing, there's just there, you just don't, she's going to walk into a room in sparkles and a feather boa
Oh,
and
I
flip
love it.
flops. So
Yeah.
she's like, these are your people. And so she sent me this message on LinkedIn, and she's like, I keep hearing your name. People keep telling me I need to meet you. She's like, so I'm just telling you that you are about to know your lifetime friend. And I mean, it was just like this
Ah!
amazing message that she sent
Yeah.
me. And so we got together, we talked, and then, much like you, kind of just
Yeah.
fell in love quick, right? And
Yeah.
have been friends for many, 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 many years now. And she ultimately moved to Austin, and with her business partner, Liz, they were finding when they were going to these industry conferences that all the good conversation and
Yes.
content was
Totally.
happening in the hallway. And then
Yes.
there's somebody who's walking by with the chimes, like, can everybody get
Like,
back
hey,
in?
everybody, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
this
No,
this
this
is the
is what we
important
want to
stuff.
do. And so their whole concept is that this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And they have done some amazing things where their whole premise is, let us be the first in the industry to try it. And then if it works, we
Yeah.
want you to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're very open to sharing, much like what you said, just about like sharing content, sharing ideas. They run a community now called Club Ichi, ICHI. And it's just a great community of events, event marketers, just people who have a space to ask questions.
Yeah.
They run a really dynamic like Slack channel that is just, oh my God, every day there's so much information that comes out. And it's a place where you could be like, hey, I'm working in whatever city. Does anyone know a lighting guy that I can talk to? I mean, it's like, you're going to get a million responses.
Well, by
So
the
what
way,
they're
we need
doing,
somebody for that in end of October in Los Angeles, in case you can hook me up with somebody who will install our lighting equipment. One of
okay.
our guys is sick. So
Oh, shoot.
in the
Okay.
Slack channel. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. So I think what they're doing is really amazing in terms of community, and it's been a missing piece in our industry
Yeah.
where I think competition was such a thing, like, oh,
Yeah.
well, let me out compete you, or who's in what magazine and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
I think now we're just like, especially our generation, like we're just past that. We're just trying
And
to
we're
all do good
tired.
work.
We're
We're
over. We're like,
tired.
listen, you know what? Knock yourself out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
There you go. And you know
exactly.
what? I'll meet a
Exactly.
new friend on the road now that I'm, somewhat
Yeah.
injured. Yeah. We'll just sit and bond. Well, I love that. Well, you've got to if you don't mind, after this podcast, shoot me an email with that, because I'd love to promote that for them.
Thank you. Yeah,
The May
that's
event, and
great.
I'd love to have one of them on the podcast, or both of them, if you think
For
they
sure.
would be
Oh, they
up
would
for it. I think that'd
100%.
be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's all like-minded people, right? You just kind
Yep.
of, you're like, hey, how can I help you? And here's my platform. You
Yep.
know, you never
Yep.
know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. Yes.
So tell us three things for which you are grateful. I think I might start that on this podcast. It can't include me. They can't include the podcast. They can't. Just 3 things that come to mind that you're going to put some goodness in the world.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, first and foremost, family, of course.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah,
And you have a fun family, so you should say that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
should
you're a very fun
definitely.
family.
I am very grateful for my passport. I am very grateful that my passport gets stamps in it. And
You know
that's
what?
very important to me.
I love that. And I'd like to do a shout out. I'm very grateful for John Rose.
Yeah.
We have recently reconnected, chatting about him. John Rose is one of the most people in the world. Cybersecurity extricator from dangerous situations.
Yep.
If you're getting your passport stamped, we want to keep him close.
Yes.
We want to give a shout out to John Rose and our future reconnection that we're about to have this week.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. He is one of those, like, you need to have certain friends, and
oh yes,
I love him for many reasons. He and I have a very good relationship, but just the fact that I could call and be like, "Hey, John, I'm in trouble." And so you got to have those in your life.
I'd like you to be able to call and say, "Hi, John, Marley is in trouble." So that's why we need to reconnect that, since Marley seems to get in a little more trouble than Nicole does.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect.
I love it. So you can tell John Rose that we closed out the episode. I'm grateful for him and his brain and his extractions, as are the family members of whom he has extracted. I would assume most of them are grateful. Some probably would say should have left the guy there.
Yeah.
But all right, Nicole, tell everybody how they can find you.
Right. So the Henley Company, the Henley, HENLEY company.com is the website. On social for Instagram, I'm Miss MS Nicole Matthews, altogether 2 T's and Matthews. And you can always find me on LinkedIn too. I love, I'm happy to always connect. And I do a lot of teaching. I do a lot of speaking. And I just feel like that's just because people took care of me when I was young and in the industry. And it's just good karma. Not only do I love it, but it's just good karma to give back to the industry. There's no secrets anymore in this industry. Let's just all help each other be better.
And then the likelihood that John Rose will have to come and extract you is less, because you're going to have such a nice group support. I love it.
I'll tell you, when I was working in Russia for the Olympics, he said to me, he's like, "I'm going to need you to get kidnap and ransom insurance." And I was like, "I'm sorry?
Is that a thing?"
Yeah. He was like, "I don't even know, who do I call for that?" Right. So of course he, knows a guy. And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because you're going to a place where, they see you as an American and all this stuff." And he's like, they'll see that you own your own business. I was like, "I am worth like $12. Like, no."
He's like, they'll take it. They'll take the 12 and ask your sister to double it. Yeah.
I know. I was like, I don't feel like I'm a threat. But of course, in John's world, he sees the world a little differently, which is why we need him around.
Yes.
So that was a fun, line item in my budget for that year was.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and if John tells you, like, you don't.
No, John says it.
I mean, you're like, "Oh, okay." I mean, God, how could I call and say, "Sorry, I didn't get that insurance, but something's gone awry." So,
right. He'd be like, "I told you so at the funeral. I told her to do it."
Exactly.
You didn't do it. Well, I'll give another gratitude shout out for your mom, who has always impacted me with her. Her mom, Nicole's mom, has this amazing wallet system of where everything gets paid in cash out of the envelope. And let me tell you, you spend a lot less when you're paying in cash. And Nicole's sister, Jody, who, I've said I'm recruiting to be my ranch manager in San Ynez. So let's just put that out there. So that's official. And she won't be able to back out. But
this has been Steve. Yep.
Steve, God bless him. So we've had a great time on this one, as always, Miss Nicole.
Yes, thank you.
I'm super excited to catch up and hear all about these great things. Hopefully some people will be joining us on that secret mission or whatever it is. And
secret family reunion, and we call it
secret family reunion. I love it. And I love secrets, like fun secrets like that. That's great. So here we close another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm Marley Major, your host, and this has been a ball. If you want to follow me, you can on @thepartygoddess, 2 D's, 2 S's on Instagram. Of course, check this out on YouTube and make sure you subscribe to the show and please rate it. We would love that. So Nicole, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Loved it.
Love you so much. Thank you.
Talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.